Hey y'all, welcome back to Ryan and Robert Rants. We're continuing the ranked series today. Robert, which one are we going to be doing today?
We are going to be doing Superman Returns. We have moved on from the Christopher Reeve era. We are now in the Bryan Singer, Brandon Routh era, if you can even call it an era.
Yeah, don't call it a comeback.
Yeah. Yeah. This was like I guess we could call this kind of a requel, like a new term we got, like I think from Scream, whatever, Scream 5. It's like a reboot
Scream
slash
5, Scream
sequel.
2025.
Yeah. It's like a sequel slash reboot to Superman 2. It kind of ignored Superman 3 and 4 and became a sequel to Superman 2.
Okay, so that is confirmed, right?
Yeah.
That it's from
Yeah.
Superman 2? Okay. Yeah, because I was like, yeah. I mean, we'll get into
Yeah.
it. But yeah, we are continuing like Robert says. We are doing Superman Returns today. Goodbye, Christopher Reeve. We hardly knew ye. But yeah, the it feels so weird here in that Bryan Singer, Brandon Routh era. But yeah, just like we do in the previous rank series, if you haven't, definitely go check out our previous 4 episodes, which are currently available. We're going to be going through the meat and potatoes of the story. We'll do an out of 10 scoring, and then from there, as always, in Robert's special project, we will be doing the tier list. So we'll be ranking this one. We're almost there. Second to the last, and then we'll be concluding with Man of Steel. But before we get there, we got to get through this track. So let's go ahead and get started and jump into it, Robert. And as I stated in previous episodes before we actually do, spoiler alert, we will be spoiling the heck out of the story. And if you haven't seen it or any of the previous entries, definitely go check that out first. Come back, get in the comments, join us in the conversation because we definitely want to hear from you, especially where this ranks in your eyes. But yeah, Robert, if you want to go ahead and get us started, let's jump into Superman Returns.
Yeah. Do you want me to start with the synopsis, or do you want to like talk about the credits?
That's a good one. Let's do the synopsis first, and then we'll jump straight to the beginning because there's something I do have to say about even before the movie starts.
Okay. Well, like we'll just go over like a brief synopsis here. So, again, this takes place. I believe it said 5 years after Superman 2. Clark Kent, aka Superman, has been missing for 5 years. He's been traveling, kind of to a location where astronomers believed they had discovered the remains of Krypton. So he's like, he's been out in space for 5 years. I'm pretty sure he took his vessel, his childhood or baby vessel that he can now fit in as a grown adult. But
And
space
it's a lot
magic.
bigger.
Yeah. um. So yeah. So during his absence, Lex Luthor, he ended up getting released from prison, and we find out, I believe, later it's because Superman was like kind of like the key witness, to Lex Luthor's, wrongdoings from, the Superman 1 about trying to somehow sink California into the ocean. And, as the court system goes, if you're the key witness and you don't show up to court, well, you can be declared as a mistrial and Lex Luthor went free. So Lex Luthor ended up marrying, um, so I don't remember,
Gertrude.
Gertrude, right? Yeah, okay. I was wondering if it was something like that. Yeah, but anyways, it was played by Noel Neal. Superman fans will know that's the original Lois Lane.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah,
I
from
just
the
outed
George
myself
Reeves
as
era.
not a
Yeah.
Superman fan. Not a diehard Superman fan, but
In fact, I know she like passed away recently. I mean, she was
she's still alive?
no, no, yeah, no, like she passed away recently. Like it was like maybe like within like the last decade or so. But
Oh,
when
okay.
you think, yeah, when you think about it,
Still though, it's like,
yeah,
wow.
yeah. So yeah, he ended up marrying her, and then she's basically kind of like an old elderly woman, so she passed away in the movie, and he was able to inherit her entire wealth. Kind of I guess Lex Luthor's just not a nice person, so he inherited, basically married for the money, right? And
Yeah.
I might be able to insinuate he might have had something to do with her death. It's Lex Luthor, who knows, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so Superman, he ends up, failing to find the aforementioned remains of Krypton. So, he comes back to Earth, like again, landing some magically in the farm in Smallville. I swear it has like a homing beacon, just boom, I need to land in the exact same spot in that field.
Dude, for yeah. But yeah, yeah, there's a lot to unpack with this movie. Um, some a big thing in particular that I noticed that you mentioned it, but it sticks out to me like a sore thumb even after watching it. But I'm gonna save it until we get towards the end. The thing I wanted to mention about before the movie even starts, the WB logo. We get the music that's playing with the old school opening for the WB logo, but there's a slight flutter at the end of it to give it like the Superman theme
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing. This movie clocks in at 2 hours and 34 minutes, the
Yes.
longest one so far. Now we're getting into modern times right here with these run times. Opening reading, you will never ever see something like this again in a movie due to today's audience and the lack of patience and work they have to do on their part. So you'll probably never see that again. Um, I did write down what it said. It says, on the doomed planet Krypton, a wise scientist placed his infant son into a spacecraft and launched him to Earth. Raised by a kind farmer and his wife, the boy grew up to become our greatest protector, Superman. But when astronomers discovered the distant remains of his homeworld, Superman disappeared. I do like the panning out shot where they pull out from Krypton to show the sun collapsing and then destroying it, like going supernova
Yeah.
and destroying Krypton. It looks pretty good. And it shows the pieces flying off into space. The opening credits, the shortest one so far, 2 minutes and 44 seconds. Brandon Routh getting top billing, which I'm glad they actually gave Superman the top
Yeah.
billing.
And a
Um,
Superman movie makes
yeah,
sense.
and then Kevin Spacey gets the end. Kevin Spacey.
Oh,
The music by John Ottman, dude, he does a really freaking good job with this score.
yeah. I
Like,
mean,
of course,
they kind of repurposed the Superman, the John Williams theme. Like it's featured predominantly in the movie.
yeah, because the thing that I like about it, and it's something that I said in the first rank that we did for Superman 78, was that the music and the score feels like another character. It's the overall theme. It's like, it's what a score is supposed to do. It's supposed to enhance, either
Yep.
give you a sense of urgency, give you suspense, give you romance, give you, you know what I mean? Like it's supposed to invoke those feelings and enhance those scenes. And he does a really freaking good job with this one. Like you feel that. Um then with the credits we get passing all these planets, going through a wormhole, ending up at Earth. It all looks serviceable, for its time and whatnot. This was what, 2006, right when this came out?
2006. Yep.
Yeah, so I mean it's of its time. Like you said, we open to the mansion with the rain, the voiceover speaking about that despite, his past, she knows he's a good man. She's pouring out her heart and he's just going,
Mm-hmm.
While people are yelling at her, to let them into her room. She says, I love you, Lex Luthor. She passes. He finishes the signature with his hand, signing over everything, removing his wedding ring and dropping it into the glass next to the bed, holding the dentures. And then from the room, like you said, emerges Lex Luthor with hair.
Yep.
Look, looking over all the people, making eye contact with the little girl, pops the hair off and says she can keep it, and that the rest is his. We do get Parker Posey dressed as a maid, and then we're left with a shot of a model yacht in a display case in the middle of the room. It's telling us what's coming later. Then, like you said, we do get Kansas, starry night too in Kansas. Like they really make sure that those stars are popping. The house I noticed looks like the farmhouse from Courage the Cowardly Dog. That's the vibe I was getting from it. Um, there's a guy leaving in a pickup truck, waving out the window, by Martha, yelling "Bye Martha." As Ben Hubbard was getting some, he's still
I guess so,
around.
yeah.
Jonathan Kent ain't gonna stop me. So she's doing the dishes.
Nope.
She starts to notice something. The house shakes. Giant fireball descends from the sky because that thing's freaking huge when it does.
Yeah.
She's driving the truck out with teary eyes, and then, like you said, the ship looks very much like the original ship that he was placed in as a child. Only this one's a lot bigger.
Yeah.
This one's like freaking
Yeah. You're not
skyscraper.
yeah, you're not fitting that underneath the barn.
Like no, not at all. And then she's staring up at it, and then there's a hand that reaches out, and it turns out it's Clark in a full gray suit that we never see again.
Yeah.
It's a one and done. Then we cut out to a roaring storm in the ocean with the actual yacht that we saw earlier. Cal Penn, dude,
Cow
in
pen.
this movie. He's navigating. Kitty and Lex are discussing Prometheus. It's revealed they're in the Arctic. We're shown they're leaving the yacht and going on foot to the Fortress of Solitude. Da, da, da. So Lex places a crystal into the panel, and Jor-El appears on the crystals, and he asks Jor-El to tell him everything, starting with the crystals. The thing I thought about this scene: no security system, Clark. Really?
Nope.
Nothing?
I guess he didn't think anybody could find it.
Guess he didn't.
Hmm.
But we do get cut to Clark close up on his closed eye. He opens his eye to the ceiling with glow in the dark stars and one a red one. Which I actually used to have these growing up, and I completely forgot until I watched this movie again, and I was like, oh yeah, we did used to have them. They worked when they wanted to.
The glow in the dark. Yeah,
Was
I
the
never
thing.
had them.
Yeah. They were pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to get some more. I've been wanting to buy the little strobe light ones, but the little squiggly ones. They used to sell one back in the day at was it Hot Topic or Spencer's? Spencer's. And I had asked them one time when I got in there, and they said that they didn't sell them anymore. But that the ones that they had back then, those were made with quality. The ones they have now break instantly. So it's like I missed my shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, Clark walks outside to the day starting, and he's looking out into the distance, and we get a flashback. Him running through the cornfield and jumping. It took me a second to remember that this was a flashback because I thought it was him just like because of the way that it's cut. Like it looks like he's just like, okay, I'm gonna go for a run in the cornfield. Um, he jumps, falls through the barn, and then he's floating before he hits the ground. Cuts back to him throwing a ball to the dog, and the dog whimpers because it's too far, which douche move,
I
Clark.
mean, yeah, he
Douche
probably threw it in orbit.
move. Yeah. He's just like,
Yeah. See, that makes more sense than taking a bat to the ball. You know,
yeah,
one of them would have busted.
yeah. See Superman 4 for more information. But yeah, we cut
Yes.
back. He's sitting in the living room watching the news, and of course, we got to show the world in disarray. And he he informs his mom that he buried the ship. I don't know where, but he did. A
Probably not
big
underneath the
hole.
barn.
Oh
Yeah.
god, no! Freaking big sinkhole at that point.
I mean, yeah, he's
So,
got the powers to do so.
so the you brought this up earlier. It's revealed that it has been 5 years since Martha's seen Clark, and she hadn't seen him in about 5 years, and obviously she can't go to the cops because of her history.
Yeah.
For more
kidnapping children.
information, see yes. For more info, see Superman
Yeah,
78 ranked.
yeah, yeah. She stole the baby.
Yeah,
I mean, she did a noble thing raising it, but she definitely still stole it.
but at what cost, Robert? At what cost?
I mean, uh,
So
Jonathan Kent probably.
yeah. So there's a line that she says, and I wrote it down. She says, "Even if you are the last, you're not alone." Very important line. And there's a reason that's a very important line, and that reason is hope.
Yep.
You need hope in a Superman movie. Truth, justice, the American way, yes, but he's a symbol of hope.
Yes.
People look up to him. Hope, positivity. That is what's needed. We will talk more about that in the next entry. All in good time. All in good time. So far, was there? I know we're caught up to Metropolis at this point. Was there anything that you wanted to bring up, or anything you wanted to touch on from that?
Not right now. Um, yeah, I think even Brandon Routh, I think he got his like first spoken line like what, like 30 minutes into the movie, it seemed like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's always kind of like even all the way up until like present day with casting unknowns as Superman, because Superman, the character, is larger than life. So I think it's always important casting someone who's not larger than life, right? You don't need that. I don't want to say ego, but at the same time, kind of like that real world ego to interfere with the Boy Scout role of what Superman is. Like he's lives on outdated, unfortunately outdated ideology about the truth, justice, and at the time American way. When Superman was created in 38, like that was America was that hope, right? Outside present day now, it's not so much, outside of, America itself. And
Yeah.
honestly, even inside America, we kind of are divided amongst a lot of things. But yeah, Superman is kind of like that hope. So I think I had no idea who Brandon Routh was when he first got hired, for
No
this
one
role.
did.
So no
Plucked
one
out of
did. Yeah.
obscurity. Plucked out
Yeah.
of
I think he did like
obscurity.
maybe a couple of guest spots, and I think he was on a soap opera.
Was it
Um,
Young and the Restless?
I don't know. I mean, I could look it
Probably.
up, but yeah. Um, so I mean, and Kevin Spacey, despite everything that's come out or whatever about him, like he always kills, like he always like chews up the screen, right? Like when he's on, like he
Yeah.
steals everything he's in. So I thought that was, I actually liked him being cast as Luthor because it still, he still pulled from the Hackman, right? The Gene Hackman kind of thing. So it was I thought the
Yeah.
casting, like, from, again, this is kind of like a sequel slash reboot, right? Like this is for the old heads that grew up with it. Like, yeah, it takes place after the first two, the ones, that are more universally loved. And then, but also at the same time, we're rebooting it for a younger generation. But I think they did a real good job casting Routh and Spacey as the next Superman and Luthor, just because, I mean, I think they were able to capture that. I don't want to say magic because that's kind of a cliche
No, 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 no.
word,
It's
but
it's
it's like
true.
they
The
were
spirit.
able to encapsulate those two specific actors, Christopher Reeve and Hackman, that came before him, and was able to kind of bring it present to the present day.
Yeah. And no, you're right. You are 100% correct about magic.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was. I mean, that is what makes the 78 version so good. Is that it's the magic, it's the charisma, it's, when they're on screen, like you feel that presence.
Hmm.
There's a dominating presence when they are on the screen and they command your attention. And you have it. And in order to do something like this, where you're saying, like, yes, this is going to be a direct sequel, you can't have a sequel to a movie where, okay, we're not only just going to change the actors, we need to still make sure that it holds the spirit and it stays true to the character.
Yep.
Because it would be like just any project. I'm trying to think of one. Nothing's coming to mind at the moment, but like a recast, like a drastic recast of a character. Oh, you know what? A good example, Doctor Who. Whenever they recast when he regenerates and you get a new doctor, it's more or less like the same quirkiness. Like you know that it's the character, even though it's being played by a different actor, because they have their grasp on who the character is. And that's so important, especially with a beloved franchise like Superman and a beloved character.
Yeah.
You need to be able to have people of that caliber. And the fact, like you said, looking at Brandon Routh's history, to be plucked from obscurity like that and say like, hey, like we chose you out of like the thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of people that they probably auditioned or looked at to take on this role and be like, hey, this is the guy we want. Like, kudos,
Yep.
like super kudos on that because he knocks it out of the park in this. He's such a
Yeah.
good Clark Kent. He's such a good Superman, and they did good on that. And he really does encapsulate Chris Reeve's spirit of the character. Like just what not even just the line delivery, but like you said, the magic, the spirit, the charisma of that. Even with like the facial expressions, which again, you don't get facial expressions nowadays. You don't get actual acting. It's all just reaction. It's not emoting. It's not showing me the pain in your face or the joy and happiness. Like you see that in here, and it's like, okay, like I see just like with the little smirks or the little like the things that he does with his eyebrows, like those little things can
Yeah.
make or break the character. And it's the same with Kevin Spacey's Lex Luthor. I will say something on that, but I'll save that again towards the end because there's a couple of things I do want to mention regarding that. But I digress. We do cut to Metropolis. Clark Kent and Jimmy Olsen. Sam Huntington of Jungle to Jungle and Fanboys fame. Because yeah, I always forget that was him in Jungle to Jungle. Which
I haven't seen that in a while.
yeah, exactly. Like you go back and watch it, you're like, oh my god, he was in there.
Nice. Was he Mimi? The
Yeah,
kid?
Mimi Siku.
Nice. Mimi Siku. Mitsubishi.
It's such a dude. I saw that in theaters as a kid. Like that's how
Nice.
far back that movie.
I was
Um,
going to, but I didn't end up going.
oh,
It's
that's
okay.
okay. That's okay because you still saw it. You still
Yep.
saw it. One of the very few people who remember that movie. I do like that we get Clark bumping into things. Like I said,
Yeah.
a big part of encapsulating the character is that you have to have Clark Kent.
Yeah.
You have to have Metropolis Clark Kent. And you have to have Superman. Two very different characters. Very, very different characters. But I like that he's encapsulating like the fumbling and
Yeah.
stuff like that. The only thing we don't really get is the
Yeah.
the
The
Chris
stuttering,
Reeve
the
thing.
kind of the
Yeah.
stuttering, yeah.
Like just like the dorkiness. This one's more like modern day dorkiness. He's
Yeah.
more like a geek in this one than
He's just
anything.
he's just clumsy and yeah.
Yeah, and then we do get Frank Langella as Perry White, which I think good casting on that
Yeah.
part. It's definitely more like a reserved Perry White, but he still has that sass to it. Like his first line, Olsen, where are the photos on that birthday clown massacre thing? And then Clark telling him, thank you for giving me my job back. Don't thank me. Thank Norm Parker for dying. And then Jimmy's response, dude, it was his time. Like dark. So another thing I wanted to mention, dark jokes. The dark jokes in this
Yeah.
movie, and it's because of the script. Michael Duggery.
Uh,
I can never pronounce his last name correctly. I freaking love him so much because he gave me one of my favorite movies of all time, Trick or Treat.
oh wow. That was a good
Yeah,
one.
and I'm still waiting on
Yeah, I'm
that
guessing
sequel,
it's still
man.
a
Where's
movie.
it at, man? Trick or Treat 2, let's go.
Nah,
Um,
keep it as standalone. We don't need a
yeah,
sequel. We're all good.
or at least another holiday, because I know that because he did Krampus as well. So
And
we got our
X
Christmas right
X2.
there. Yeah, So he's written, like, he's a good writer. He also did, if I remember correctly, Godzilla King of the Monsters. If I remember correctly, he directed that one.
He also wrote Godzilla versus. It says story by Godzilla versus Kong, Godzilla King of Monsters. I'm just on writer credits right now. Let me see.
Yeah, but
Director.
my dude can write it. He knows how to write an entertaining movie
Yeah, he
and a
did
good
direct King of the
story.
Monsters and Krampus.
Yeah. My biggest issue with Krampus, my biggest issue with that movie is
Not
that it was
rated R.
PG-13. Yeah. That was my biggest issue because when they had announced it, I was like, "Oh my God. Like we're
Finally.
getting an R-rated, yes, so we're getting another holiday movie from him. It's going to be Krampus." And then the
Yes.
trailer just looks so freaking good. Like I love the setting. I love the snow. Like it looks ominous, but it also looks very mystical
Yeah.
as well, mystical and magical. So I was like, okay, like I'm for this. And then when I heard a PG-13, I was like, oh come on. I was like, really? Like, don't rob me of that. That movie was made to be
Yeah.
rated R. But yeah, like that's not the only dark joke in here. We're gonna get to one in just a moment, but that's that's the one that made me laugh. That I'm like, okay, yes, I like it. So Clark is setting up his office. He sees Lois on screen. Enter Kate Bosworth of Blue Crush fame, which you said you still haven't seen, right?
No, I've seen Blue Crush.
You've seen Blue Crush? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I saw that in theaters.
Oh, nice. I saw it on DVD when it came out on DVD. That was a
Nice.
blockbuster rental back in the day. But yeah, so we see her. He looks over at her desk and sees that she's a recipient of a Pulitzer Prize. So she does have a Pulitzer Prize in this one. And for her editorial entitled Why the World Doesn't Need Superman.
Yep.
This movie was ahead of its time.
She finally got
So,
that Pulitzer.
mm-hmm. This is where we get a sneak peek of the next entry, the nihilism.
Yeah, right.
So we do see a picture of her on her desk, James Marsden, and a child. So Jimmy appears and confirms that Lois is a mom, and Clark cracks the frame. It's like, no. So we do get back to the manor from the beginning. Lex, Kitty, and the gang are walking through to go down to the basement. Here's the second dark joke of the movie. Kitty sees one of the dogs from earlier in the corner of the room with fur everywhere, and it's shown eating something. She exclaims, "Weren't there two of them?" Mike Dougherty line, dude. That is a Mike Dougherty line. Dude, and it's so violent, too. It's so... I love that they got away with it.
It's a PG-13 movie, I believe.
It is, but hey, they push it with the PG-13. So in the basement, it's revealed that Lex plans to use the crystal to create something. He mentions a continent. We do get Jimmy and Clark bar scene. Clark drinking a Budweiser, so I mean, he really is all American. Jimmy thinks Lois is still in love with Superman, and then this is when we get cut. We cut to the plane with the shuttle attached. So, according to what they said in the movie, an old space shuttle has been fitted to a Boeing 777. When they hit 40,000 feet, the shuttle will detach, ascend, and then fire one of two propellant systems, the liquid fuel boosters. When the shuttle reaches the stratosphere, the secondary insertion booster will fire, propelling the craft at 4 Gs into the mesosphere. So, what's the whole point of this?
The scene?
Yeah, no, well, not the scene, but what's the whole point of them
Oh, well,
doing all of this?
yeah, that I don't know. I mean, the whole point of the whole scene is Superman's coming out, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
he
it's
is.
basically, and I'll get to this, the whole thing later, but it's basically like, Superman saving Lois in an aerial aircraft, like an aerial vehicle again, right? So instead of a helicopter, it's a plane. But they had to go big, big, big set piece to showcase Superman's, returns. Like, hey guys, look, we got a huge budget now. We got We got all this technology, all the effects. Let's just go ham on this. As for storyline purpose, or for whatever reason, what was the point of sending this shuttle into space? No clue.
Was
Not
it
a one.
just so that way they could like, oh hey, instead of having it take off, we're just gonna get you as close as we can, detach you, and
May-
basically just throw you. It's sort of like the
I,
planes doing the work for them,
um, I
right?
mean, maybe that's what I was thinking. Maybe they're trying to be more like, conscious of, the damage they're doing to Earth by sending spacecraft, up
Yeah.
by all the jet fuel they burn. But yeah, I don't think they gave any purpose as to why this is a thing.
Yeah, because I was trying to, because as we were talking it out and as I was reading it, I was like, when you're watching it, it makes sense, but when you don't have it in front of you and you say it out loud, it definitely sounds different.
It's like, why are we doing this?
So yeah, this is where we're getting the introduction to that. We do cut back to the mansion. There's a very, very small piece of the crystal cut from the tip, and it's accidentally dropped into the water of the model in the basement. Power goes out, a deep hum and glow appears in the water. Lex backs out, because of course he does. And
Yep.
there's a huge power surge throughout Metropolis. So it does cause the power to go out on the shuttle and the plane. The model starts breaking apart, and this was an interesting choice. We get, I don't know if you noticed this, we get sound effects from the models, like screaming and screeching from the explosions and the train. Like, did you
That's
catch that?
that's how that's how lifelike Gertrude built this model.
Yeah.
I don't think they built it. I think
That's how rich she was,
man,
dude.
look, maybe her family built Metropolis. I don't know, but she really wanted it to be lifelike. She's like, yeah, I can't go out and experience it anymore. I'm just gonna go down there and listen to the city.
Hey, kudos on her. When you got the money, you got the money.
I
You do
mean,
you,
yeah, I
bro.
mean, you can't take it with you. You just give it to Lex Luthor, I guess.
So yeah, from there, it does cut back to the plane. This is when we get the titular plane scene. The boosters can't be shut down. The shuttle ignition occurs, burning the back of the airplane, which I think would have been the first thing that would have happened. Like even if it did go through perfectly.
Right.
Clark's sitting in the bar hearing this, and you can see him. He contemplates helping. He contemplates it for a moment.
He's like, I'm only back as Clark for one day, and all of a sudden I got to be Superman again.
Hmm. And then he starts. We get him running out. We get the shirt pull.
Yep.
Lois,
Iconic shirt pull
she's unbuckled in the plane and gets thrown. She's
everywhere,
trying to grab the
violently.
mask. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
She takes
Um,
a beating.
Lois is dead by the end of this movie, man. Like, I refuse to believe Lois is alive. Like from this
Yeah.
scene on. Like this is essentially this. This is like. Did you ever see the movie Flight with Denzel Washington?
I did not know. I never saw
Is
that
not.
one.
Okay, it's essentially the same plane scene, just more intense in this one, and
Right.
a lot of people die in that movie. So, spoiler alert on that. But yeah, the people in that movie didn't get thrown around as violently as they do in this one, and they die. Um, yeah, so I guess when you get it on with Superman in the super bed, like I guess you inherit some of his power.
I mean, look, she took his, goop, right? So you never know. Maybe it kind of like,
Supersede.
yeah, but because it had to have enhanced her a bit, right? Because what happens when the baby kicks in her stomach, right?
Ooh,
Or is it like you know what I mean? Like, well, I mean, maybe nothing because he hasn't absorbed. Does he absorb the sun's radiation through her and into him? How does this work? How does Kryptonian biology work here? That's the
that's
only thing.
true.
Superman gets his power from the sun. Does the kid receive the power from the sun through her, or is it just like she's not a solar panel? So I don't know. You know what I mean?
Isn't she
is
though? I
she
mean, because the baby
is she like a
absorbs
conduit?
whatever the
Yeah.
mother does. But then again, like you said, we also don't know too much about Kryptonians, and especially in
Yeah.
the next entry, they throw that all out the window. Um, So it's I don't know that.
I'm
So
just going
it's
back to
interesting.
Mallrats. It's like, the baby would just punch a hole into Lois,
Oh man, but yeah, I mean it's. I mean, these are the questions we're asking y'all. Get in the
Yes.
comments, join in with us because we're curious too. But yeah, so she's getting thrown. She tries to grab the mask, and when they cut to the launch center, they see something on the radar. Lois looks out the window, and you see a figure flash by, which I do like how that's shot. Like it's just very
Yeah.
like that. And Superman landing on the plane using his strength to separate the plane and the shuttle, carrying the shuttle into space. The issue I do have with this is we can see him slightly indenting the plane with his footsteps. Could he have gone through the plane?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm thinking like I'm thinking back to the boys, like what Homelander says. Like, well, can't you just do that? He's like, well, I'll tear a hole through the hole.
Yeah.
Like, I can't.
But that's like the boys, right? They like go,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say full on realism, but like, the things that, you think about it like in this movie, like yeah, like they full on would go what we would just talked about. But yeah, like he would probably not, at the very least, the plane would for sure nosedive quicker, I think, than what it did.
Yeah.
Like if you're pushing off of it, that plane's gonna start. I don't know. Maybe that's what. Yeah,
Physics.
but exactly. Make it make
But yeah,
sense.
get in the comments. Answer these questions. So we do cut to the passengers in the plane floating. Lois attempts to grab a pen, and she is launched into the side. She's
Man,
launched.
she gets beat.
Yeah, like violently beat up in this plane. Like you said, the plane does fall into a tailspin with the rear caught on fire. Lois is still getting ragdolled this
Yeah.
entire time. He does stop the plane, lands it, opens the hatch, says, the whole flying thing is still the safest way to travel. Speech, and then
Just
Lois
not with
sees him.
Lois because every aerial craft she's in seems to want to crash. So if you're flying with Lois Lane, get off the plane.
It's Final Destination, dude. Death is coming after
Yes.
Lois. like,
Jeez. And then
like,
yeah,
and
she ends up like passing out, and I'm pretty sure it's not from seeing Superman. She's probably concussed. She had something, no broken bones, right? Like, I mean, nothing.
and we already know if this is a continuation from the first two. We already know that she may have possibly sustained a concussion 5 years prior. I'm just
Yeah,
saying. This is
yeah.
all. See our previous episode for more information. But yeah, we do return to the mansion, and it's revealed that the crystal created a mini version of the Fortress of Solitude, and Krypton. Not an actual one, but just having all the crystals spike out and whatnot. But it just looks exactly like it does with that. Back at the Daily Planet, we have Perry talking to everyone, and he's calling off, to each department what he wants them to work on. He says, "Lifestyle. Superman returns." He said it.
He said the title.
And then we do have a line from Lois. "Gil, how many F's are in catastrophic?" She still can't spell.
No, and zero.
And then we get Perry's mess up right here. He said the story isn't about the blackout, it's about Superman. Because Lois wants to chase down the blackout. Like, Perry, we could have had it done real quick, but no. He said no. It's
Yep.
got to be all about Superman. But the and we're introduced to Richard finally, played by James Marsden. The daggers that Clark is staring into Richard.
From one Boy Scout to with the other Boy Scout and Cyclops.
hmm And dude, he's such a good guy in this movie. Good guy, Richard, man.
Man, that's why, like, I think that's what makes it harder for Clark. He's just like, God, I hate you. It's like I hate you.
You're such a good guy.
Exactly.
And then we do cut back again. We cut back so much to the mansion, dude.
Yeah.
Lex is reading the papers. Superman is back, and he also reads about a meteorite and gem exhibit happening at the Metropolis Museum of Natural History, which will come back later. We get Lois and Clark talking briefly. Superman flying. I really enjoy that scene where it shows like the kid looking up, and you just see him flying like down the road. That's a really good shot.
Yeah, the flying looks really good,
Yeah, very CGI, very CGI,
but
but
it still looks good
yeah,
though.
the sky too, dude. It looks so great.
Yeah.
Like the sky looks good, the city looks good. Like I said, it's of its time. Like some of the CGI is noticeable, but for the most part, it just looks good.
Yeah.
He flies over to Lois's house to do some light stalking.
Hmm.
Um, Richard already knowing what's up with Lois, like he already knows he can smell it.
Yep.
And
Oh yeah.
Clark continues to fly through the evening sky, which again still looks great, and the music going with it too, dude. I freaking love the music in the scene. John Ottman, dude, like he captures the spirit of what a
Yeah.
Superman movie is, and just like what a movie is to describe something mystical. Like the score is so mystical, like the with the choir, with the strings, like it's just
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much I enjoyed this score until we did this, until we are like, oh, you know, we're gonna rewatch
Yeah.
it.
I think when I first watched this, I was at a time like in movies, like I never really accounted for the score. Like it wasn't until like much later I started appreciating the score in movies more than, you go when you go to the movies, it's like, you watch a lot of movies, you just kind of go for the, just what you see on screen, right? Like visually what you see on screen. And
Yeah,
it's like, later on you start to appreciate like all the aspects that go into crafting a movie. Even like I've always said, even a movie that's complete and utter just not good, you can still kind of see maybe something that like that was, well, I will always appreciate people putting a lot of hard work, even if you make like a not so good movie. But if you have somebody that's like kind of lazy and makes a bad, like, all right, you can kind of attack that like that kind of, but it's always nice like when just everything about it, like it wasn't until much later I started really appreciating like the score of a movie and how it kind of like we said elevates the overall experience.
yeah. Two really good examples of that, and I don't want to say that these are bad movies. These are just movies that should have just been run of the mill, but they're elevated by their soundtrack. And it's two fairly recent. I say fairly recent because like within the last 10 years. And those two movies are the Magnificent Seven remake with Denzel Washington and Chris Pratt, and The Empty Man.
I haven't seen The Empty Man. Have you
So
seen The Empty Man?
The Empty Man is a movie that was released during COVID. Uh, when I was cleaning an auditorium, I didn't know what the movie was in there because I just went, oh, okay, I got to be at this auditorium at
Yeah.
this time. Let me just run in there and clean. And the one thing that we always used to do is we would forget what movie was playing in there, and we would just listen to the music. Sometimes we'd be like, ooh, ooh. And The Empty Man, dude, that score goes hard. Like I'm like, what movie was this? Like I had to turn back and look at the screen. I was like, because there's a track. I'll send it to you. Well, you know what? No, I won't send it to you because I'm just gonna say watch The Empty Man.
I'll just
That is
watch the
all I'll
movie.
say. Watch the movie, and then you'll hear it in there, and then I'll tell you what it is. But dude, there's a part of the score. It's so freaking good. Like it does not sound like it belongs in this movie, but it elevates the story. And I can't talk about the movie too much because
That's fine.
I wouldn't even say it would give away stuff. It's just one of those movies you have to experience. But the trailer did not do the movie justice. And that movie feels like it's a lot longer than it should be, but it's the perfect amount of time because that movie is like almost 2.5 hours long.
Oh wow.
And it's, yeah, and it's like, wait, what? but then when you watch it, you're like, oh,
Gotcha. I'll give it a
yes,
shot. I'll
yeah.
give it a
So
watch.
like high recommend, high recommend. I was gonna say another movie too. Like as I said, that it had triggered something else, but I mean, it's gone now. But yeah, like we've talked about before, and like you just said right now, the score, like it changes your experience, especially if you pay attention to it. And I feel like it definitely did with this one. So, and during that, we see him floating in space. This is when we get him just floating there. The music is just like pumping up, and he's just listening to everything. And then we just get the his eyes
Yeah.
opening, that close up, and then we cut to the heist on the rooftop.
Yeah.
Um,
Zooms in.
dude, the freaking Gatling gun, dude, it's freaking
Yeah.
just mowing stuff down.
I remember that in I remember that in the trailer and the thing coming into his eye and it just like boom. I'm like, I remember that vividly from the trailer.
Dude, heavily featured. That was the selling point of this
Yeah.
movie. Was like, oh my god, like Superman took a bullet to the face, into the eye, and it backed off. But yeah, I love that we have the two security guards ready to risk it all. Just like, yeah, we're gonna stop this. The slow motion firing at them, Superman taking it all to the chest, and like you said, the gunshot to the eye. But I like the smirk he gives right after. Like, I will say something about that moment though. It is forever ruined for me because of Epic Movie. Epic Movie ruined that scene for me forever. It's just the bullet going into the eye, like, ah, it really hurts. So then, while this is all going on, we get Lex in the museum. They're saying it's gonna close soon. It's gonna close in a couple of minutes. We only need 5. He's doing his country accent, and then we also get
He had a
Kitty
lot
in
of
a
fun with
runaway
this
car.
role.
Oh, he did. He
He
did.
had a lot of fun.
This is where, like I said, this is where it sort of changes a little bit from the older Luthor that we had from Gene Hackman. This one, he's actually like doing stuff
Yeah.
to where he's like, he didn't need to do an accent. Like Gene Hackman wouldn't have done an accent. He just would have gone in as himself, maybe a wig or something, and it would have been like played for laughs. This
Yeah.
one's more like, I'm actually like committing
I
a
wonder if
heist.
Yeah, I wonder if Spacey was just like, you know what, I'm gonna do that, and they're just like, okay, like you're gonna tell Kevin Spacey no?
At that time too, 2006, Kevin
Yeah,
Spacey.
exactly. Nah.
So, Kitty's in the runaway car as a distraction. Superman saves Kitty. Lex finds the kryptonite. Very Silence of the Lambs with the goggles. Um, hence the country accent as well. Where's the kryptonite, Mr. Lecter?
Yeah, she's basically this movie's test marker.
Yeah, Kitty is Tessmacher, which I wish they would have brought her back in some way or form. It would have been great to see her.
The character or the
Um,
actress?
the actress in like some way or form. But this meteorite, it's revealed to be the same one that was found in the first movie, from Addis Ababa in
Mhm.
1978. So this is what I wanted to talk about, and I'll say it now and I'll bring it up at the end. This right here, that little plaque, I get it's an Easter egg and a throwback, and the fact that it says 78, this throws off the time of the movie drastically. And this is the biggest issue with this movie, is they want it to be a direct sequel to this, but it is stated that this is set in 2006. And we'll come back to that later on how that's confirmed, but that is a big issue. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. But like I said, I'll go into more details with that. But I did want to mention that that is the biggest issue with this movie, is the time that
But did they
everything is supposed to
say?
take place.
And that's always hard for like any movie, right? But did they explicitly say in the first movie when the meteorite fell to Earth, or was it
They
just like, oh, a meteorite fell to Earth?
They didn't, but they say it's been 5 years. And with
That it since
that
it.
being as long as it has, especially with where it leaves off in the second one, and again, this is why this has to be a sequel to the second one, because if you do it from the third, Martha's dead already.
Yeah, yeah. That's why
She's
it's
confirmed dead in the third one. So
yeah,
I'm like, it has to be a direct sequel from the second one.
yeah.
But if you do, it has to be set from that time frame, because they're
I
saying it's
mean,
only been 5 years since he disappeared. I guess the only way around it, technically, it's their way out, is they don't ever expressly say that that's how long it's been, but they even say Lex Luthor's been in jail for five
yeah,
years. And the
yeah.
last
I
time
mean,
that we
I
saw
think there's
him, he had
just
taken him to jail. Oh no, he
I think
didn't. He left him
there
at the fortress.
yeah, I think there just has to be like some a little bit of suspension of disbelief in terms of like, yeah, we want to do a sequel to it, but obviously we can't say, 30 years, what is it, 30 years have passed because,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, Superman cannot, like, won't age, but Lois will be in her 50s.
yeah. And that's what I
So, I
mean though,
mean,
is that they're supposed to be young still, and you're saying
yeah,
it's
but I
five
mean,
years,
that's
but now it's
just,
2006. Like
but
that's
that doesn't have an issue for me because that's just comics.
yeah.
Like, that's literally, like, Peter Parker has been 30 for 40 years.
Yeah, yes, and that's one thing, but I'm saying to say that this is a direct sequel from that,
Well, I
and it's
mean,
only been five. But that's what I mean is that
that's
they're
why it's like that's why it's a requel before requel even became a term. So like you can even probably possibly say that this maybe been one of the first ones, the
yeah.
first requel.
Oh, most
But
definitely.
I mean, we can even try doing an investigation on when requels start, like the like a requel timeline, right?
You know what?
Um,
I'm actually down for that. Let me write that down. Look at y'all. Look, see Robert
yeah,
coming up with these ideas, y'all. We have another.
because I mean, we got the term. I mean, the first instance I remember that term is in Scream. What was it, 2022 or whatever it was, or I don't
Yes.
know. It doesn't matter. Um, so I mean, we can at least say it has to, yeah. I mean, that's why I kind of didn't have an issue with it because again, that's just how comics are. Like, they even I think they
Yeah, but you know
explicitly
how I am
reference
with the story.
because like Captain America been frozen in ice in the 40s, and then when he wakes up in the 60s, they're like, oh, it's been 20 years, but like now, okay, now it's 2025. Are you gonna still say it's been 20, like 30 years? Because it's like
But
no,
see, that's the thing
it's
that they did with that though, is that
well, I'm
they
talking about
said
just
how
straight
yeah.
comics now.
Oh,
Like,
just straight comics.
when he,
Yeah.
because he reemerged in 1964, you'd be after being frozen in ice for 20 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now it's like, well, now you can't do that. Or Frank Castle being a Vietnam, veteran. Well, you can't do that now, right?
Being a
So
Vietnam vet, but he's only 20 years old
exactly, exactly. So
in 2014.
it's like Peter Parker was like. So I know they retconned him getting bit. If I remember correctly, in the first couple issues of Amazing Spider-Man, I think he was 17 or 18. Um, but I know they've since retconned it to him being 15 when he got bit by the spider. But like, so he's 15 in the 60s, but he's like 30 now when he's like lived through, Vietnam and everything in the 80s, the Cold War, 9/11, like all this
Oh
stuff.
god.
You know what I mean? Like there was an issue, there was a
He had a
9/11
rough 20s,
issue.
dude.
Man, my boy can't catch a break. So I mean, that's why I don't have too much of
Yeah.
an issue, just because I mean,
But
I
that makes
expect
sense in
nothing
the
less from a
comics
comic.
though.
Yeah, I don't
You know
expect.
what
I
I mean?
expect.
Like
Yeah,
when you're doing it in this medium, in this
I
format,
mean,
I'm like, that's where
yeah.
it's like, again, of course, you got to
Now,
buy
if you
into the
set up a,
suspension of disbelief. But if you're
yeah,
already stating, like, you're using time, like you're
yeah,
saying this is 5 years. And again, that can all be omitted by omitting the thing I'm going to talk about later that cements it.
it's like
If
that's
you
why
eliminate
Marvel
that one thing,
now
then it's like,
blacks out years. Like they don't have, like, if they're showing a date in their movies now or
yeah.
shows, the year is covered.
Well, they have to because even they
Yeah,
don't
because
even know
they don't
what
know
year they're in.
exactly.
They're like, eh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's 2027. Why not?
Yeah, sure.
Sure, kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like I said, I wanted to bring that up because like I said, I'll bring it back up later about that one thing that cements it, but I just wanted to mention it now because it's like it's something that changes it for me in my
Yeah.
experience with the movie now. But like I said, I digress. We'll come back to it. But yeah, back at the Daily Planet, there's a discussion over trying to speak with Superman versus investigating the blackout. Perry, I like Perry's line. Every other paper in this town has got a female reporter, a good-looking female reporter, stashed on the roof covering Superman, and you two are the ones with the history. And then Lois, trailer line, Chief, I've done Superman. Covered him.
Classic innuendo, like
Y-
as we would have got from like the first movie.
yes. Covered him. You know what I mean. Perry, yeah, that makes you an expert, so you're going to do him again. And then the Jimmy and Clark look at each other when she says it. And then Jimmy just trying to get this plot rolling. He's like, why don't you try tracking Lex Luthor? No one's seen him since his fifth appeal, and he's got more bad history with Superman. And then Clark asking Jimmy how Lex got out, and he explains that it was due to Superman not showing up as a witness in appeals court, causing them to let him out. So I love that it was it was a technicality.
I mean,
The justice
that
system,
was
dude.
the
Justice system.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Matt Murdock would
Unfortunate.
approve. He was like, no, he followed the law. Perry gives Superman to Lois and Clark the blackout, and Lois takes it well.
Yeah.
She does not. And then Richard and Jason show up. They see a pic of Superman on the TV, and Jason looks at it and Clark, and then he starts to have an asthma attack. It's kind of played for laughs, though, as Lois and Richard are going back and forth, and Jason's just like signaling for the inhaler. He's like, and then we cut to Lex and Kitty. Kitty finally confronts Lex about regarding the brakes actually being cut. And his goons are taking this. They've taken the stolen kryptonite and they're shaping it into a weapon. Now back at the Daily Planet, they're all researching the blackout, and Richard's getting a crash course on Superman lore, where Lois is just rattling off like his stats. They look at Clark and question if he could be Superman, and then Clark waves like a dork. Just a little.
Using his super hearing, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, wait a minute, I got to throw him off the trail again.
And then they decide, it's gonna be a long night. Let's go get some food. And this is when they leave, and Lois drops her purse, and Clark loses his
Reminds me of
glasses.
the Cyril Figgis. Hello.
Yeah, yeah. Good reference, dude. I've been rewatching Archer. That's been my fall asleep show, so I just put it
Nice.
on and just fall asleep to it.
I had to bring that up.
Freaking candy bar wrapper.
Hello.
Hello. And then Lois drops her purse. Clark loses his glasses, and she gives them back, and he gives her the cigarettes. In this scene, I don't know why he briefly looks like Josh Hartnett in this scene,
Yeah, I can see that.
like just a little bit. And then this is when we get the roof scene. So Lois and Superman are talking. Lois, the world doesn't need a savior, and neither do I. Yeah, she's not hurt at all.
Nah, she's not jilted.
So, from here, they're having like a little back and forth, and Superman looks at Lois. He's like, Lois, will you come with me? Cue the whole new world montage. It's about a
It's like,
5 minute
yeah, she will.
sequence. Yeah, again.
Yeah,
Again.
again.
But it's a pretty good sequence. I do like it. Again, it sets the romance. It does what it did in the first one. I wouldn't say as good. This one's more like a rekindling,
Hmm.
of that romance, but it has its moments. Like when they're floating up, I love that it's practical. And you can tell it's
Yeah,
practical. It's not all CGI'd and wonky. It's like you can tell they're actually on wires coming down. And it just, I don't know. It cements that they have chemistry. And that it's like, okay, like this is Lois, this is Clark. Back in the office, Lois, I was up on the roof getting some air. Her hair's just like all crazy. Oh, Richard, tell the truth now. Were you smoking? He's such a Boy
Got her.
Scout.
Yeah, got her. Yeah, that's what
No,
I was doing. I feel like that's in that. That's like if that's the somehow that doesn't seem like the worst thing, right? Like smoking's bad, but like it's like that like yeah, sure. That's exactly what I was doing. I'm sorry.
the worst thing he could think of.
Yeah, yeah,
But that
yeah.
just shows how much he trusts her.
Yeah, yeah. Like I wasn't just feeling up on Superman.
Hmm. So it does cut to an article. Superman returns. She said it.
She said it.
And then Lois and Perry having a conversation. Perry's line. I feel like this was a fourth wall break from Frank. Lois, Pulitzer prizes are like Academy Awards. Nobody remembers what you got one for. It's just that you got one. Because there's even like a funny zoom in, like a pan in, like as he's
Right.
saying it too. We get Superman flying to the fortress. This is when he finds the crystals are missing, and he's pissed.
Yep.
Back at the Daily Planet, Lois is doing her research of the blackout. She gets an address, forgetting to pick up Jason from school as well. She shows up to the address and finds out it's where Lex is. She leaves her cell phone, flip phone, in the
Flip
car.
phone.
The music cues when they reveal the wigs, that's a horror movie reveal with the score. And then
Yeah.
showing Lex brushing his teeth in a robe was a weird reveal too. Like it was just sort of like, oh, like hey,
Lois.
sort
Lois
of thing.
Lane.
Hey, Jason, you're bald. That's
Yeah.
it. That's it. So we cut to Lex and Lois speaking. They trade little jabs back and forth. Lex explains the crystals, and then he reveals his plan. Um, it's essentially the same plot as the first
Same
movie.
plot.
Instead, yeah, the only difference is he wants to create a new continent using the
Yeah.
crystals, killing billions in the process. And you can see Kitty doubting this, which I think Parker Posey does a great job with playing that like no, like having that doubt of like,
Yeah.
wait, what am I
Like
doing? Like, why am I?
this is insane. Yeah.
Yeah, like Miss Tessmacher did in the 78 version, but hers was played a little bit more like stage acting
Yeah.
is what that one was. This one was more like this was like indie drama acting with this one. But I mean that's what Parker Posey was known for. I mean she's an indie actress first and foremost. Aside from, Blade Trinity and You've Got Mail throwbacks. I always forget she's in You Got Mail. But yes. So you see that Lex pulls out the kryptonite and he notices that it's making Jason weak. Like, well, I guess weak. I don't know. He sort of just looks like he's like,
Like staring at it. Yeah. He's staring at it.
yeah,
It's kind of like nervous or something.
yeah. He doesn't really. This is one I mean, I get he's a kid actor, but I feel like he could have sold that a little more. Like maybe like the eyes closing
He's only
or
half
something like that.
Kryptonian,
Y-
so like maybe it's only half affecting him.
True. It's like, hey, if you ever wanted to get him to calm down, just break out the kryptonite. And just be like,
Yeah, I'd be like,
I need you to settle down.
right, just get a chocolate made of kryptonite. Be like, let's go, kid.
A kryptonite chancla. I love it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
You gotta show him. You gotta show him. Even a Kryptonian kid needs to know the fear of a chocolate. Just saying.
Jason, aplágate ya.
Yep.
Oh man, I love that. Oh, I love it. So we do get the launching of the rocket with the crystal at the center. It's hollowed out kryptonite. Back at Daily Planet, Richard and Clark are trying to get into Lois's computer by guessing her password. It's Superman. Is it?
Yeah.
It's Superman. Is it
Yeah,
no
it's
numbers,
Superman.
no nothing? This shows you the extent of passwords back in
I was about to say
2006.
back in the day, you didn't need all that. It could have just been like 6 characters long. Yeah, you didn't need
And no
capitalization.
two-factor
You didn't need numbers or characters.
authentication.
Exactly. Yeah. There was no like fingerprint, face scan, nothing. It's just Superman.
Gone are those days.
Yeah. Yep.
So back on the yacht, Jason's playing Heart and Soul on the piano with one of the goons, with a demented clown-looking tattoo,
Tattoo, yeah.
clown face. So is that supposed to be a reference to Joker, or is it just
I
like
don't
a
know if it's
random
Joker.
tattoo?
I don't know. Like, I feel like you think that this is a real tattoo on the actor, or you think it was fake?
Oh, that was fake. Yeah, that was a
Yeah, but
fake
like
one.
I don't know if it's a reference to. I don't know if Lex Luthor has that. I do seriously doubt it's a reference to the Joker. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't know if like Lex Luthor has any clown based henchmen or something. I don't know. That's weird. That was a weird one. It's an interesting
Yeah.
choice.
So yeah, we have that. The missile's launched. The goon realizes what Lois is doing because she's trying to send a fax to the Daily Planet to let them know the coordinates of where they're at. Because it is said earlier when Lex is waving the kryptonite, they say the coordinates of where they are. So she writes those down, and Jason's distracting while playing the piano. But then you see that he realizes what she's doing, and he proceeds to beat her up. He slams her head into a statue again. Lois is dead.
Yeah. Yes. I
Lois is
mean,
dead. And that was a hard slam
she
too.
she had to have absorbed some Kryptonian like nutrients or something from Jason when he was in utero. Like, there's no way
Yeah.
she could survive all this.
Dude, I was watching The Blacklist and someone gets their head like lightly tapped on the back of the wall and dies from a head
Yeah, I mean,
injury.
it
Like
doesn't
it's
take
like
much.
yeah, and she's like over here just like full on. Jason starts having the panic attack, and he's shown throwing the piano. And he goes to take a hit from his inhaler, and then he just puts it down. He's like, "No, I don't need this anymore,
I don't need
man.
it.
I'm Brightburn."
Do you think it was like? You think he wasn't, or it took like something to like for his powers to manifest, or
Sort of like
one of
genes, how
those?
they say like anxiety or stress or like high pressured situations can
Yeah,
cause genes to activate inside you.
yeah,
That you're
like
like, well, I never had this issue, but now due to my genes and high stress, now I do.
yeah,
Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it that the human side of him,
maybe, yeah.
maybe like I don't know. It's an interesting one
Kind
with
of,
this
kind of,
kid.
yeah. It's an interesting choice. It's kind of too bad we didn't get a follow up to this one to for them to explore it more in depth.
Yeah, spoiler alert with what I'm gonna say later, but yeah, I mean, I really would have enjoyed a follow up to this movie. Like
Yeah,
after watching this, I'm like, yeah, like count me in. Superman Returns 2. I'm ready for it. Um, so they get thrown into the kitchen area. Lois, could you help mommy open the door? And then he starts sniffling and and then apologizing. I'm sorry. So Lex is shown running a chart of the trajectory to Metropolis, Daily Planet. The power's out and comes back. Jimmy gets the facts for the coordinates while trying to take a picture. Richard says that he's gonna take the seaplane to Lois. Clark walking, and this is when we get Clark walking through the hallway. So he passes a bunch of articles, which I did write down. One of them, the wall comes down. Headline. There's also one for fuel crisis. There's another one that says, "Where has he gone?" And there's also the final one where it says, "America puts man on moon," down the hallway. So just a bunch of Daily Planet through the times, which again, something else that cements this time period.
yeah,
Um, we do get Clark entering the elevator, and he gets into his Superman costume, which I do like. I think at least wait for the doors to close first, Clark, because
right.
you're shooting a little
You never
too
know.
early.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, and then it does look like he busts through the roof
I think he
before he does the
does.
sonic boom. Because I
I think he
rewound it, I
does.
was like, wait, did he?
Yeah, I
Like,
think he
right?
does.
He's just like,
Yeah,
so, dude, someone's gonna have to fix that, Clark. Come on, come on.
I
I
mean,
will say that
well,
the water looks bad
the
in
whole
this scene.
building's gonna need to get fixed later, so I think we're all good.
Yeah. The CGI water though looks bad. Everything else not too bad, but the water, yeah, for sure. He does look into the water and he sees that everything's cracking and that it's going towards Metropolis. So he's looking back at the new continent and he's looking back at Metropolis. And then this is when we see Lex and the gang. They're shown leaving the ship via the helicopter, leaving Jason and Lois on board. And I don't I don't know why I wrote down the time code, but at 1 hour, 39 minutes and 51 seconds, we get video game Superman flying back towards Metropolis. And dude, this is when we get destruction galore. We get a guy
Yep.
falling out of a crane, a sign falling, a cigar falling into a tunnel, causing, um, you know, that to cause gas to ignite, glass falling, Superman igniting it, or with the gas igniting, he gets ahead of it and freezes it with his breath. In that portion, I can't tell if that footage is reversed or not because we do see a panning in where it's going towards the
Yeah.
the area, but then it like reverses. But I don't know if it's the same footage or different B-roll.
I'm not
But
sure. Because I remember the tops popping off. Did the like tops magically come back too?
that I didn't see
Okay.
because they
I mean, if the tops come back, then for sure
yeah.
it's yeah, yeah.
That's why I was looking. I was like, oh, I don't know. But yeah, so we get that. We get the Daily Planet globe falling. I do like that we get him busting through the window to grab it.
Hmm.
Like I thought that was pretty cool. Like watching him just cut through a building. And then he's just like, screw this car right here, this green car. He's like, just flattens it out. It
Giving
reminds
his
me
like
of
giving his Atlas pose.
mm-hmm. It's reminding me of and the second one at the end when that lady's like, my car, you'll pay for that. Which now that I think
Yeah.
about it, was that the same car? I'll have to go
What
back
kind of
and
car
watch that
was it? I
again.
don't remember.
I don't remember the car she had, but the car that was in this one, it almost looked like the station wagon from Vacation because it was
Was it green?
green. Yeah.
That's just an Action Comics throwback.
Hmm. And then
First
we
appearance
get
of Superman has him like picking up the car and kind of smashing it in that same pose.
throwback
Yep.
references. So we do get Lex and gang again. They're looking over what the crystals have formed. Back at the yacht, Jason decides now he wants to try to open the door, and then
Right.
Richard arrives. So the ship is pierced by one of the crystals that are coming out. Um, the ship ends up going up, it breaks in half, and then this is when they get trapped in the kitchen, and Lois gets her head slammed by this door. She is dead.
Yeah, she's gone.
Dead. And then on top of that, she's underwater too. She's drowned. There's
Yeah,
brain
she's gone.
damage.
Yeah, yeah. I
There's
mean, I don't know. She's metahuman. I'm not. There's no other explanation.
she has to be at this
She just
point.
takes a straight beating.
It's on, dude. You know what? That's what happens when you win a Pulitzer Prize.
You just get
Invincible.
beat. Yeah, oh
Hmm.
yeah, or that too.
So they become trapped as it sinks. Superman arrives and lifts the submerged part of the ship. He's holding them up and returns them to the plane. He uses his X-ray vision to check Lois and confirm she's good.
Perfectly
She is
fine.
not. She is not.
Yeah,
We know
no,
she's not.
she's not.
He may
No,
say it, but
no.
we know.
Yeah, she'll be all right. You know, no, no, nothing. But yeah, she's
He looks.
unconscious. But no,
He
she
looks
should be dead.
everything
But
down.
she's
He needs to
not.
be looking at this right here
Yeah, yeah,
on
yeah.
the X-ray.
Strategically stops before he gets too far. You know where he wanted to go.
Yeah, she needs to be Opie from Family Guy by the end of this movie.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Brain dead.
So now we get Superman versus Lex. They have a back and forth. Lex notices that Superman's sweating, and then he punches him in the chest. So
Yep.
Lois awakens and tells Richard they need to go back or he'll die. Luthor and his goons proceed to beat him down with Kitty crying in the background. Dude, and this is the first time I noticed Cal Penn was like beating him down too, because I thought he was just like a henchman doing the stuff behind the scenes from when I had seen it a long time ago. But I was like, wait, no, does he? And I was like, yeah, he kicks him down when he's crawling. That pushes him down into the water. So yeah,
Yeah.
Kumar was not messing around, man.
Nope.
That's for Harold.
Yeah. He got
So
his White
Lex.
Castle, escaped Guantanamo Bay, and he was done. He was done. He was
Mhm.
just gonna start. He was gonna join Lex Luthor.
Yeah, this is why he didn't go to medical school. He joined up with Lex. And drugs don't pay for themselves.
No.
But yeah, so Lex stabs him in the back. He falls down into the ocean. Um, and he swims up to the surface. He ends up getting rescued by Lois, which again, don't know how she could go underwater, especially with all that going on.
Yeah.
So that happens. He leaves. She ends up pulling out the piece of the kryptonite blade from his side and throws it out of the plane. Now he does end up waking up, leaves the plane and flies into the sky to recharge with the sun, which I do like that scene. That does look pretty good.
Yeah.
Him doing that, and then he the diving into the ocean and into the crust with his laser vision, just like
Yep.
um. So I do like that Lex and the gang, they're just chilling with everything around them. It just starts to collapse. I will say one thing that was out of character for him: the fact that he's trying to help them escape was out of
Yeah.
character. He was like, "No, no, just leave it. Come on, let's go, let's go." Like he's trying to help everyone.
Yeah. He would have
Um,
vacated without them all. Yeah.
yeah, he would have been the first one out of there. Like as soon as before the first shake, he already would have been gone. So we do see the henchman getting crushed by Cal Penn. He's with them as well when they get crushed. Lex and Kitty do get to the copter with the crystals, and she intentionally lets them fall out.
Yep.
From there, she's just like, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And then it's revealed that Superman is lifting the entire continent out
Yep.
from the water, and it's ascending up. We do get the kryptonite crystals starting to come out from below, so they're like piercing out. I really thought they were gonna pierce him
Yeah.
with the way that they were coming out, but I will say, if this was a Zack Snyder joint, we definitely would have got that. Because
Oh
then
yeah.
that would have leaned into the whole Jesus imagery and stuff like that, with like the piercing and stuff.
Yeah. And
Like
it's like,
the Zack Snyder would have been like, oh yes,
yep.
yes.
And then after that, he would have felt like, like this, like in like a form of a cross. He would have felt like that all the way to the earth.
Yeah,
He
the
got that
entire
imagery.
time, the entire
Yeah.
time. Not like how he falls in
Yeah.
here, because he does make it to space and he does release it, and like you just said, he falls like Scott Stapp in a Creed music video, just falling down
Yep.
back to Earth, landing in Central Park. I mean, a park in Metropolis. As
Very
people
Central
watching
Park esque.
sadness. And he's rushed to the hospital by a number of police officers, which you probably won't see in anything modern anymore.
Nope.
But the docs do attempt to help him. Nothing works, but it does show that they were able to remove that last piece of the kryptonite from his body. I had to rewind this scene a couple of times too, because I thought that when they were using the paddles, I thought I heard like like the guy was getting shot too. But yeah, so from there we cut to the Daily Planet, and we have a headline. We have two headlines. First one: Superman is dead. World in a state of mourning. And then the alternate headline is revealed: Superman lives. The world celebrates his recovery. On the first headline, date Friday, September 29th, 2006. 35 cents.
35
This is
cents.
the thing I wanted to bring up.
Were papers
If
still 35
they
cents back then?
exactly. Remember,
Wow.
this is a metropolis. So I mean, it
Yeah.
must be nice too. We're at 35 cents. Simpler times. But yeah, this is the thing that I was saying earlier. If they eliminate this portion, that date, that's all they had to eliminate was that date,
Yeah.
then it's cohesive. But
Just picture
because
fluff
they
over it or something.
yeah, but
Or
because they
something. Yeah.
say
Just
2006, that cements that there's an issue with time in
yeah.
this movie. And that's what I was saying earlier about how you can get away with the 5 years and the suspension of disbelief, but because they explicitly state that it's 2006, that throws everything out the window. And again, it's because, cut back to the museum, it says it was found in 1978.
What
And
if
in
the
the first movie,
1978
that is
version
when it's
really took
found.
place in
But
what if
that's the thing, is because in the first movie they say that, oh, this was just found, the meteorite was
it
just
was found?
found. Yeah, so it's like it cements that that time is in 1978. So it's like it's a flub on their part. Like I said,
Yeah.
it does make me look at the movie differently. But if you can omit that and just suspend disbelief, like you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's not to say I don't enjoy it, but it does make me like, okay,
Just cover
like
up the edges. Don't even mention years anymore.
yeah, exactly. Take the Marvel route. Well, no. Take it back.
Yeah.
Like you said, I would take the Robert route. Don't
Just
mention it.
cover up the year.
Yeah. So, that happens. Lois goes to see Superman in the hospital. We see Jason go over to the chair with the outfit, trying to tease a future that will never come to fruition.
Sadly, no.
So we do see Lois whisper into Superman's ear, and then she kisses him. Jason jumps up onto the bed and kisses his forehead as well. And they're walking out into the crowd, they're leaving, and we get a shot of Martha in the crowd. And I do kind of feel for her, that she can't be there for her son. But maybe, just maybe, she's getting the itch to take another one.
Right?
I mean, the
I
nursery's right
know.
there, dude. They got babies
Nah,
for
she
days.
knows. Nah, I think she secretly knows that Jason's her like kind of grandson. She's just like, well, if this one goes, I got option two right here.
But the itch, dude, she loves the
The itch.
thrill.
See, what she should have done
Honestly,
is
oh
somehow
no, but if we
no.
find out that Lois does have concussions, all she has to do is wait. All she has to
I
do
mean,
is wait.
it's just, but Lois seems unkillable. Like you can't.
Yeah.
No, what Martha should do is just go to the Snyderverse Flash version and just take the babies that he got put in the microwave.
Oh,
Those
you see a,
CGI
a, a,
babies.
a hand reach through
Yeah,
the screen,
she's
just like
moving
that, picking
faster
up a
than
baby.
yeah, she's moving faster than Barry Allen, and you see the dumb look on Ezra Miller's face. Huh? You see Martha
So
just
it's
take it.
it's
Yeah,
it's the same look in Justice League when he's running, and then
exactly.
Superman looks at him. He's like,
Yep. And she's using some kind of speed force and taking a baby.
Martha can't find the speed force to kidnap children.
Exactly.
I could bring my husband back, or
Or just kidnap another baby.
oh god, Martha can't kidnap her.
I'm telling you,
So,
she's evil.
mhm. Hey, we saw it. We see her for what she really is.
Yep.
So we do cut to Lex and Kitty. It's revealed that they're stranded on a remote island due to running out of fuel.
It's a
The final
small
dark
island
joke.
too.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah. And then we
Yeah,
get the final dark joke. It's inferred that they're gonna eat the dog. Well, at least Lex is gonna try.
yeah.
So back at the hospital, it's revealed that Superman is left. We cut to Lois's house, and Lois is writing a new article. Why the world needs Superman. And Superman is in Jason's room watching him sleep, letting him know how he'll feel, but he'll never be alone. It's the monologue from the first movie, right?
Yeah,
That
it's
Jor-El gives to
the
him.
Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I thought that was real touching and
Yeah.
whatnot. It kind of feels kind of weird too when you think about the context of it. But it's a nice moment. And then
Yeah.
Lois and Superman having another look at one another, and we get Superman flying through the city. Doesn't look too bad. Once he gets into the clouds, video game Superman returns. But we do get an updated version of the classic Reeve ending with him flying up and then going towards the sun and then going away from the camera, but with video game Superman in this one because you can't really tell. I had to look. I was like, "Is that Brandon Routh?" And I was like, "No, it's a video game." So it would have been nice to have gotten Brandon Routh, but we made it to the end credits, which are almost 8 minutes long, the longest of the franchise. But that is it as far as Superman Returns goes. Robert, what do you give this out of 10?
Oh, so when I went back to rewatch this, because I hadn't seen this in so long, I saw this in theaters the first time, and I remember liking it, but I always felt that there was I don't know, something was just off about it when I first watched it. So I was just like, it's kind of, mid, right? But then when
Yeah.
I rewatched it again, like I don't know, it was like 2 weeks ago or something, I was like, I actually really enjoyed it this time around. And I don't know if that's just, whatever it is, because maybe I'm having seen, the previous, the four original ones, and then, Man of Steel more recently. It provides a different perspective on things, or if it's because maybe at the time I didn't know where this franchise was going to go. Were we going to get a sequel? We did not. And then was I just kind of like nostalgic for maybe I kind of wanted to see more from this, because even with Man of Steel we were still robbed of a true sequel, right?
Yeah.
And like we haven't had a true Superman sequel since Superman 2. um or I mean, I guess if you go Superman 3 and 4. So I was like, I really found myself enjoying it, especially after rewatching Superman 1 and 2. Again, reusing the iconic John Williams theme, Marlon Brando coming, kind of coming back in a sense. Um, I mean, yeah, the plot of this movie is almost not, I wouldn't say identical, but story beat for story beat is pretty much Superman 1. Um, Superman comes to Earth, the whole thing. Lex Luthor wants to have like real estate, basically, right? He wants to generate real estate by killing, instead of millions, billions of people this time. So it's, along the same lines. It's kind of like a rehash of Superman, but so that's where we kind of get that requel term, right?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of the same but different. It's like, let me copy your homework, just change a few things. Instead of, sinking California will destroy the entire eastern seaboard. Which, okay, look, there is plenty of ocean, my guy. You could have created a continent literally anywhere in the water. Why did you have to do it right off the coast? I'm sure if you would have done it like somewhere in the Pacific, you would have been good to live your life. Just saying. I'm sure you would have caused some, geological damage to the earth, but, you most likely wouldn't have killed anybody, right? Um, but I think encasing, the crystal and kryptonite was kind of smart, because, it shows Lex forward thinking, right? I know Gene Hackman's line in his one line is like, I'm a criminal mastermind. Your plans are kind of lame, my dude. Like you weren't a mastermind, in my opinion. I always thought his plans were generally lame.
Yeah.
Uh, so this one was a step above that, but again, I can't rank it any higher than obviously the original, right? Because again, story beat for story beat, it's almost the same. But I really did enjoy it, and I forgot, or it's kind of like a new realization for me, like how much you can revisit a movie you may or may not have liked, and you have a whole new perspective on it. Um, the cast is great. Like Brandon Routh, I honestly didn't care for Brandon Routh in the Arrowverse at all. I think his acting kind of went downward. I mean, he was pretty good in this, especially considering having like almost zero acting credits. Like good acting credits. You don't really count soap opera, right? Um,
Yeah.
but let's see. Where's my other rankings? Let's see. To recap just a smidge, that's a lot of notes. I gave Superman an A. I actually wrote them down this time. It's not for like Mission Impossible. Superman A, Superman 2, I gave a 6, and then we won't even go. So I feel like it's somewhere right in the middle between Superman and Superman 2. So I'd probably give this honestly, like I think I'd go with a 7. I want to possibly say 7.5, but I think a solid 7 out of 10,
Okay.
because I really did enjoy it this time around, more so than I remembered.
Yeah. And I like what you brought up about how the first time you watch this movie, and again, we both watched this movie around the same time when it came out. So you have to think about the state and the quality of movies at that time. Like it was a different time to where we are now with
Hmm.
movies. Like CGI is super rampant. CGI was still fairly new around that time. They were still finding their footing and their way. We had just gotten Transformers, which was already like one of the biggest. Like, oh my god, like it's crazy what you can do with
Yeah.
CGI. And with something like this, it was like, do you go full CGI? Do you use some of it? It was the heyday of
Yeah.
CGI. Um, so I think that's a big. I feel it has to be a component into why we feel the way we do, and especially because of the content and the story that is being told and how it's being told. Like there's good stories from nowadays, but I can't say with an honest, like, in all honesty, one that comes to mind right now where it's like, oh yeah, like this had like the story, the score, like this, like as much as we've talked about these. And it's because I feel like it's just different times, way different times from where we were. So I will say this about this movie. This is a step in the right direction.
Hmm.
Um, and I do have a weird history with this movie because the first time that I saw it, it was in the middle of the movie, and it was from the plane scene.
Yeah.
And it was from back in the day with a bootleg. But in all honesty, I've only seen this movie from beginning to end a couple of times. But it really holds up. It has that feel of an updated version of the '78 film. Brandon Routh, great as Superman and Clark. Kate Bosworth, just as good as Lois. Also, Lois is dead.
Yes.
Again, the amount of head and body trauma she endured in this movie, I refuse to believe she walks amongst the living.
Yeah. She's
Uh,
gone.
yeah, Kevin Spacey is decent as Lex. Everyone else too. They had a general grasp on the characters. It's
Yeah.
visually appealing. The story is serviceable. Um, I did want to see a little more mustache twirling with Lex. Just a little more. Like I feel like it sort of towed the line between where we did get a little mustache twirling and then we got a little bit more seriousness. So it did walk that fine line, but I think if you would have leaned a little bit more, just a tiny bit into the campiness, I think it would have been really good to see. The continent scene feels like it goes really fast. It's
Yeah.
sort of like it happens and then it's over. And some of the colors, I will say, look a little faded with the filters that they chose to use when they were grading it. Um, so I did want to see those pop a little bit more because it does seem like there are scenes where the colors really do pop, but it feels like this one was just like a little more faded in some scenes, or some scenes were like really dark. The biggest issue, like I said, the biggest issue that I have with this is just the time it's supposed to be set because it goes from the 80s to 2006 in the span of 5 years. They either should have just said it in the 80s or just not mentioned the time, the year at all.
Yeah.
And I feel like had they done that, it would have been good. But as far as out of 10, I was curious when you had said what you were going to give it. I ended up giving it a 7.5. I think
Nice.
it's not exactly as good as the first one, but I feel like it's on par with the second one, if not a little better than the second
Nice.
one.
Yeah.
But like you said, like this is a movie that we thought was a meh back in the day, and we
Yeah.
watch it now, and it's like, oh my god, like this is a great movie. And again, it could be because we've watched all of them so far, and it led up to this,
Yeah.
so it's like the quality has gotten better, but it still honors the story, and it's also like modern days. A lot of stuff's not that great, and this is a return to form. It's like putting on an old movie and being like, man, I miss the old days. Like that's
Yep.
what it felt like. And again, like I said, the script is just tight. It's a tight script
Yeah.
with it. The only issue I have is just some of the story beats in the
Yeah.
year. But
This
I mean,
was like yeah, it's a time when you weren't establishing cinematic universes, right? So you could have told your
yes,
contained story. Like, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with trying to start a connected universe. Like, it's cool, but you also have to, you can't do it.
rely on it.
yeah, yeah, and you at the sacrifice of your individual story. Like that was the beauty of like the first couple of phases of the MCU. Like, yeah, Iron Man went and played in the sandbox with the Avengers, but yet he always returned to his core group of characters to tell a story with those, like whatever. And now it's like you got to have like five Avenger level characters in in a
In a
Captain America
world-ending
movie.
event.
Exactly. Like just tell your it could be a lower stake. I mean, I'm not saying like Superman was, but like this was a time when it seemed like every superhero character was at a different studio. You had Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, Fox's X-Men. Yeah, Warner Brothers still owned all the DC characters, but like Batman Begins came out the year prior. That was its own tonal thing,
Yeah.
tonally different with Christopher Nolan. This one was, like a what you would imagine a Superman movie would be: bright, colorful, hopeful.
Yeah.
And
Like
it
adventure,
was,
action,
yeah,
romance.
basically the other side of the Batman Begins coin.
Yes. Which is what it needs to be. You
Yeah,
can't have the same characters have the same tone because it
yeah.
changes it drastically. But yeah, I mean,
I want to say though, so I remember we watched the Donner cut of Superman 2, or not the Donner,
the Lester cut.
the Lester cut of Superman 2. And if I remember correctly, when Clark and Lois went to Pound Town, was it before or after he gave up his powers?
Before.
Was it before?
Wait, ooh, I don't remember. I want to say it's before
Okay. Now it's kind of curious because if it was after, how, like, you know what I'm saying? Like
because then he'd
he
just be human.
became human when, you
Blood.
know,
It's my blood.
yeah. So like, was it his human goop that where you know what I mean? Like, or did like, or I don't know, like,
Super goo.
or yeah, did it all of a sudden just irradiate when she walked out into the sun and supercharged like Jason in the womb? I don't know, but you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
I
So
don't
I mean,
know.
if yeah, so I'm kind of curious now. Now I kind of want to. I don't really want to go back and rewatch it, but
I want to watch the Donner cut.
yeah, I want
I
to. I'll probably
want to
skip
watch
ahead and like see if that's the case. But I just remembered that, and I'm like, huh, was it before or after she gave up her powers, or he gave up his powers?
That's a
I don't
good
know. Maybe
question.
someone in the comments will let me know before I go. Probably not rewatch it.
Get in the comments, y'all.
Get
But
in the comments.
speaking
Let me
of,
know.
we
Educate
finished
me.
our out of 10 and our meat and potatoes. Let's get into our ranking. Robert, where are we ranking Superman Returns?
Well, I already gave it an out of 10 ranking that was somewhere in between Superman and Superman 2. So um, that gives me either the end of A, all of B, or beginning of C. And uh, I think I'm just gonna go for now because these last two is gonna be an interesting combo. Because again, tonally different movies, like from a tone
Oh,
perspective.
yeah.
Um, so for now, I'm gonna slot it right into B. But it'd be like a B plus.
Yeah.
Like
See
it'd
it.
be like an 88 out of 100. Like, you know what I mean? Like, right, like if I was giving it like, right there in that kind of like a
That
B
grading curve.
plus. Yeah.
See, and that's the boat I'm in right now where I'm like, I want to give it an A minus,
Yeah. Same. But
but
I was
it's
like,
like,
I think I gave Superman an A minus. So I was like, technically, right? I think I gave it that 89 and a half.
because I give
Like
Superman
if
an
we were going,
A.
yeah, same. But I was like, it's like at the, I don't know. I don't remember. But yeah, I'm just going to go there for now.
Hmm. Oh,
It's tough, right?
It is. It's like, I don't know. You
I
know
mean, I
what?
think it's definitely an A tier poster, I think.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah. When I finally looked at the poster, because it's one I always glanced at, and then I realized, oh, he's hovering over the world. Like I thought it
Yeah.
was always hovering over water or something like that. But then I was like, oh.
And I'm like
I'm
looking at
going.
Man
I'm
of
going
Steel's
A.
poster.
I'm going A
Okay.
tier, but it's A minus. Like I said,
Yeah, I
it's
got you.
not. It's right there. Like it barely made the cut. It was about to be an AB on roll student, but it made the A roll.
Nice.
So yeah, that I feel comfortable with that. I didn't think it was gonna be that high. I thought it was gonna be like a B or something like that. But
Yeah.
like after watching it, it's like, yeah, it's not
Yeah, I
bad.
thought like my original mind, I was like, I thought I was gonna put it in C, but like still above Superman 2. Um, but based on what I remember, but I was like, no, I actually really enjoy it. Like, I would give it like if we actually broke down the tiers even further, it'd definitely be a B, like a high B plus.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, that's our tier ranking right there. So we have reached the end, y'all, of this video.
of this video, we got
So
one more.
yes, we're almost there. Last but not least, we will be concluding our adventure with Man of Steel, which will be coming out sometime after this one. But I do want to thank everyone for watching. Thank you as always for spending time with us with the Rank series. Like Robert says, we have a lot of fun doing these. So if you want us to continue them, drop down in the comments. What are some other ones that we could do? We do have one coming up that we're not ready to unveil just yet. Maybe during the Man of Steel one we'll unveil what that is. But all in good time to those who wait. Patience, as Steve Rogers says. But aside from that, be sure to like and subscribe. As Robert always says, get down in the comments. We want to hear from y'all. What is your take on Superman Returns? Do you agree with us on our rankings? If not, leave a comment. We want to hear from you. But
Let
Robert,
us know your rankings.
yes, yes. Robert,
Let us
speaking of,
let
if you
us
want to let
know
them
how
know.
Lois can have a child with Superman's child. Please. I am not an expert. Let me know.
Speaking of Mr. Expert, would you like to let them know about the other
Yeah.
projects we have going on?
Yeah. So if you do enjoy these rank series with the Superman, go check out our other videos. We've got the first four Superman movies, all Christopher Reeve era. Stay tuned. Man of Steel's coming next. After that, we'll most likely add James Gunn's Superman. Looking forward to that one. But we also have our Mission Impossible rank series. So if you're a fan of that franchise, go check that out. Let us know how we did. We also have a bunch of trailer reactions and reviews on the channel. We got a little bit of everything for everyone. So, feel free to check them all out. We got movies, shows, games. We were dabbling in quite a bit. So just, let us know. If you have any recommendations, drop it in the comment. We took a comments suggestion. We're reacting to it. Should be on the channel soon. That one was a lot of fun. So give us some ideas. We are open to
Oh,
them.
awesome. Thank you, Robert. As always, appreciate you. We appreciate y'all as well. See you in the next one.